So guys, as Brock said, we appreciate you being here. What I thought we would do today, it's our honor to have Scott Keto from CoinList's. A real quick background, CoinList's was really the first platform, certainly the first regulated platform in the United States to officially launch ICOs. They launched some of the biggest and the best ICOs in history. I think Filecoin probably was the biggest number one, $260 million raised. That was my first experience with CoinList's. I was in the ICO.
I'm not sure we use the word raised.
Tokens were sold.
Tokens were sold.
Sold.
That was
The devil's in the details.
it really is. But Scott Keto has been at CoinList's, helping this industry create thousands and thousands of millionaires. People that have kind of come in without learning anything, got a chance to buy tokens on their platform, and make 100x, 200x. It's just been like one success story after the other. And with our experience, Brock and I have individually probably invested in as many or more projects than any two human beings alive. We've been doing it since 2013. When CoinList's came on the scene early in 2016, I think.
Yeah, 2017 was Filecoin, but 2016 thereabouts.
The site went live, launching a multi-$100 million project, it just wasn't seen. It was crazy. So what I was hoping to do, and I thought this would be interesting for a lot of people here today, is to learn what CoinList's sees right now in today's market and what the next 12 months looks like. Take it away, Scott.
What do you want to hear about first?
Your thoughts on where the market is today and what you see happening for the next, let's call it 1 to 2 years, this next semi part of the cycle.
Sounds great. Yeah, I think earlier this year, maybe the market got a little bit ahead of itself. I think that's what we're seeing right now. Private market valuations. We have way more capital in crypto than we did in 2017, 16, certainly than 13 or 14. Like, there was nothing, because you guys were around, but there wasn't a lot. We just had a huge cycle of private valuations going really, 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 really high, and then essentially a pullback. In the next 12 to 18 months, we're definitely going to recover in some capacity, but what I'm really looking for, and I think everyone's looking for, is like, what is the next use case in crypto? Like, what is the next thing that's going to really blow people's minds and open up the space to so many more things? In 2020 we had DeFi. NFTs are, whatever, but they're very interesting as digital goods that people ascribe value to. I don't know what I can say about this cycle. Like, L2s are interesting, but that's an incremental improvement on scaling. Data availability is interesting. That's an incremental improvement on scaling. What's the next thing that's really going to blow people's minds of oh, I want to do that thing too. I want to build that. Blockchain can do this, solve this problem. And I'm looking for what that is. And then once that happens, I think that's the next market cycle.
I think CoinList's will be first ones to help get those out to the public.
Yeah, we're looking for where are the killer apps?
Yeah.
Where is real sort of adoption beyond speculation, right? Beyond TradeFi, where is it coming from? We're obviously seeing cool stuff. NFTs, just because we've gone through a market cycle and there's been a correction doesn't mean that the concept is wrong. Just like the internet in 1999, 2000, right? We have to go through multiple iterations as things evolve. I mean, even meme coins, I think, have a long-term role to play. But yeah, where are the killer apps? Where are we seeing real utility?
Right now, the killer app is people's parties at 2049. I mean, there's some of these parties that have more people than a lot of these protocols have users, and obviously that needs to change. I think past few years, again, what app is going to be the next thing, whether it's gaming or whether it's NFTs, we're going to find out. I'm certainly excited about a lot of the kind of deep in stuff. I mean, that's fundamentally what blockchains do, is incentivize decentralized coordination, whether it's in hardware, whether it's in virtual services, whether it's in whatever, like all those things are like, I mean, Filecoin is, an original deep in concept, right? How do you bring data storage across the world and coordinate it and make it cheaper and more efficient, right? That's the whole idea. So there's going to be a bunch of different things, but certainly the application layer is where I would be spending my time, or I am spending my time. I mean, I think infrastructure is going to continue to be cool, but ultimately at the end of the day, we need people using these things, and that's what we're looking for.
I love it. Super happy if we go through questions and answers. I like to keep these presentations in these settings, in that 10 to 15 minute range. We have a couple more.
Then. How many people in the room have a project that they're launching now? They're thinking about an ICO. They're thinking about how their go-to-market strategy. So we got a bunch of people with projects in the room. We have a lot of investors in the room. So if I'm one of these people that are currently one of these projects going to market right now, let's talk about CoinList, because you actually have the value of one of, if not the main platform for bringing such things to market. What do they need to know? What's the process? What is it that CoinList has to offer?
So what CoinList has to offer that I think no one else does, I mean, there's amazing exchanges, there's amazing platforms out there, but those are all designed for traders, or they're designed for people who are predominantly interested in, making a quick buck. Ultimately what we've been, trying to do over the years is bring the people to these products, and that those people, sometimes they're developers, sometimes they're investors, sometimes they're retail community. But what really separates us, and what we've had the great fortune of doing, because we've been so successful and all these things are oversubscribed, is we get to not only filter for the best projects, but filter for the best community. If you're launching some perps DEX, I mean, maybe then secondary like exchanges are the right market for you. But if you're launching a perps DEX, presumably you actually want people to hold your token who are going to trade perps. Like, why would you want someone who cares only about NFTs or only cares about file storage on a blockchain? Like, you don't care. So trying to find that community, that's really what we're doing, and combine that with the opportunity to get capital, combine that with all the other services and expertise that we have. That's ultimately what we're trying to help you do.
And for some of these projects, how many users on the platform have signed up to be participants in your largest and most successful sales?
So we have about 12 million users on the platform. Some of the largest deals have had close to 1 million people try to participate, and realistically, you can't have all of those people participate. Like that's teams are only willing to sell so many tokens or do whatever. So we've had 1 million people sign up to try to actually get into any single deal, and probably the biggest ever. But on average, usually tens of thousands or a couple 100,000 people might participate in a given offering.
And what would be, since back to market timing, what are you seeing right now? What does the pipeline look like? What does the market look like right now? What are the most recent best performing sort of projects? And because everybody knows we're in, we believe we're on the precipice of a potential, call it real bull market. The question is not if, but when, mostly. And I guess the elections are, may end up playing a pretty big role in this kickoff.
So I think the market's a little bit softer, obviously, right now than it has been. We really accelerated in the first quarter, got ahead of our skis. I actually think like airdrops are interesting. It's a customer acquisition tool that you should be leveraging to bring users to your platform. But if that's your only distribution method, the data shows that they just dump your tokens, and that's not really successful. And they also only work at massive FDVs. Like the best community acquisition tool that any project ever does is they let the token rise in price with the public market. The green candle is your best friend. Like Solana is, an amazing project. It's risen through the markets over the years. They've built a huge loyal base of community members. That's one that we did, but like one that we didn't do, Polygon, similar story. Obviously they built amazing products, but in terms of like community growth, like at some point it kind of takes over on its own, but you can only do that when you give value back to the community. You can't do it just by being extractive at the end of the day.
If you have a community of 100,000 users and they buy something at $1 and 30 days later it's trading at 50 cents, you have 100,000 pretty pissed off community. So needless to say,
down 50%.
I mean, a community of 100 really good, loyal users who use your product every day is ultimately going to be way more beneficial than a community of 100,000 bots or whatever. Like the people that are, that's the whole point. Like you want people to become evangelists of your product, and having 100 evangelists I can guarantee is long-term more successful than have 100,000 people that couldn't give two shits about you.
And when you select a project to list and go live, what are the community statistics that kind of catch your attention?
I think we've done this research. It's pretty easy to fake a community in terms of like social metrics. There's no correlation between Twitter followers, Discord followers, or whatever. You can go in and check out a project's Discord, and you can see within 2 seconds. It doesn't matter how many people are in there. If there's real engagement, are there developers, asking questions? Are there people asking questions? Is there real engagement? So that's, from a community perspective, that's what we're looking for. Is there some real engagement happening here, not a specific number of followers?
You don't care about 100,000 Twitter followers and nobody does anything, but a good community of engaged users doing, turning widgets into, other widgets, whatever they're doing.
Yeah, when people are, talking to each other, when they're engaged with the product. I think that's one of the best investments that any product or any project can do early on is finding even a few handful of like community managers that you pull out of your own existing community. Don't bring them in from somewhere else. Someone who's already a stakeholder and turning them into those evangelists, empowering them to support you, and you support them, and they're going to do a lot for you.
That's amazing. That's really amazing insight.
Yeah, anything else you'd add to that in terms of, from your perspective, what are the attributes? What are the things that you're looking for projects you want to support? Clearly, Discord, engaged developers, legitimate community participation. Is there anything else that you would say are, the signs? What are the data points you're looking for when you're saying this is a project we want to run with?
At the end of the day, we've moved a lot from 2016. There's real technology that people are building, and they're much further along at the time that they're talking to us. Like, we want to be able to use the thing that you're building. We want to see that it's real. We actually want it,
So no, just launch on a white paper. Has to be, and maybe not just an MVP. You want a product that is at least V1 live.
We want a product that's V1 live. We, of course, know that not everything is going to be like, it's not Amazon on day one, right? You have to build stuff, but at the same time,
show me you can ship a product.
Show me that you can ship a product at the end of the
day. Ship it.
Pretty much, yeah. Just ship a product.
Yeah, because the market has gotten smarter. What happened is we got burned, by projects that had big ideas on how to change the world, but they couldn't actually ship a product. They couldn't get their shit together, and we're not going to tolerate that anymore. We're not going to take it.
No, I think everyone. People say where's the exit liquidity, or retail will be the exit liquidity. Retail is very smart, actually, in a lot of ways. They get smarter every year, and they're not going to tolerate as much bullshit. They'll jump in on a FOMO thing, just like I know tons of really smart institutional VCs are jumping in on a FOMO thing too. Happens all the time, happens to the best of us. But I would never think about them as like, an exit situation like that. They know as much, if not more, and are gonna tell you right to your face if you're doing something dumb.
That's great. Does anybody have any questions for Scott while we have him? Scarlett? Nothing? Okay.
I have one.
We'll start
Okay.
here, 'cause you're closest to my hand.
Looking at the last, let's say, year of projects that you've launched or raised funds for, what have been the trajectory? What have been the size of participation, the size of funds raised, and why does it look different from, let's say, 2017-18 period that you were talking about?
Yeah, I think so. There's some like structural questions that I can answer there. I mean, the market participants are different than they were in 2017, but the past like year and a half, 2 years, the size of the amount of tokens sold, maybe like 3.5 million to 20 million. Demand above that, but that's what projects were willing to sell. I also think teams really value their tokens differently. Like inherently, they believe in what they're building, which is good. So they don't want to sell too many tokens at a price that they think will be much higher in a year from now, which is different than in 2017. Not to say that people didn't value them, but they're like, the structure of the market was different. You kind of needed to sell a huge amount of tokens because that was, all the fundraising you would ever get in your life. You'd never get any more, and that's just not true anymore. So I think that's a little bit different. In terms of participation, this cycle is, we haven't seen a huge influx of like new kind of retail participants. I think most of the people that are participating are actually pretty active in crypto. They just never left. It's just a much bigger scale. Every bull and bear market cycle in crypto, we get some new people, some stick around, and the bottom of that trowel just keeps going up and up. We have yet to see like a bunch of new retail participants show up, and some people say it's in meme coins. I don't think that's true. Maybe there's some, but otherwise you'd see all of the on-chain flows come from exchanges all the way to all these meme coin platforms, and it's not there. It's coming from other places.
Anyone else other than Scarlett?
Mike's already on.
Hey,
Oh, go.
I'm from Bureau. We also did a sale on CoinList's, which did really well. Thank you for that. I wasn't allowed to invest in the chain you guys here because I was unaccredited back then. What do you think we can do to help the next generation of unaccredited young people invest in life-changing opportunities like this?
Yeah, unfortunately, in the United States securities laws, it's not really possible. You can obviously do tons of different things. If you
Fire Gary Gensler.
Fire Gary Gensler for starters.
I think honestly there probably needs to be some regulatory shift, and there is a push on that in the U.S. right now, but it's not coming tomorrow. I'll guarantee that.
Well, and the Chevron case. So there is a few things that have been changing positively, where enforcement by regulation by enforcement and regulators sticking to the letter of the law and legislature passing laws, we're seeing progress towards a more defined and narrow scope of the powers that be and what regulatory powers they have. They used to have a lot of latitude to kind of do whatever they want, and we now have some precedent that's starting to change that. It'll probably take a couple of years for regulators to realize that their powers have been somewhat limited, and it's going to take some litigation. But what's happening is we, the people, and the projects that are building things, we now have a fighting chance to actually have things work as it was intended.
Crypto is a actual political issue in the United States that it was never ever before. Like there are enough voters that care about this type of issue that whether it's Trump or the Democrats, like they actually are paying attention to this thing, and they're going to try to win votes at some point. So I think it's not. Again, this is an inevitability that it's going to change at some point. When that will be, like that's not up to me. But it was never even conceptually a political issue. No one gave two shits about it in 2014 or even in 2020 or 2021. And now they do. So I think at some point it's going to change. Something will change.
And I think that's it. If we
One last question.
one last
Let's go with
question.
one last question.
First of all, thank you so much, gentlemen, for this amazing panel. Really enjoyed the discussion. I really want to take your views on the trends that we were talking about and the whole government aspect of that you spoke about. We are seeing a lot of layer 2 and layer 3 projects launched in the ecosystem now, right? Do you think that represents a flaw in the foundational layer 1 infrastructure that exists today? And is it ready from the security aspect as well? We are noticing a lot of hacks, right? Because more and more powerful computers with this AI GPU strength coming into picture. We are noticing the existing infrastructures to not be at par with what the ecosystem needs. What's your views on that? Do we need a relook and we need to make sure that we get a new foundational infrastructure that is prepared for the next decade?
So is the question like, are layer 2s ready for prime time? Kind of is that the question?
My question is whether do we need to give importance to new layer 1s instead of just layer 2s and layer 3?
I mean, I think we're gonna continue to see new layer 1s get built until no matter the lead that from a compute perspective, Bitcoin is in its own category, but like from a compute perspective, Ethereum, Solana, whatever, none of these things are, they're amazing products, but nothing has achieved mass adoption at scale. So until that really happens, people are going to still keep on building new versions of this. At some point, they'll stop because there'll be no more economic opportunity to be building new things. But I think people are still going to do it. Maybe they focused on layer 2s because that was a hot narrative for the past 2 years, and they'll continue to build new layer 2s for the same reason that they're building new layer 1s.
Interesting. Can I ask a follow-up question if you don't mind? You mentioned mass adoption. What about GPU is going to bring mass adoption to crypto?
I mean, ultimately, it's applications and tools that bring real value to users on a day-to-day basis. Not just speculative value, that is real value, but things that people use, whether they're businesses or individuals.
I'll just add one point to that, which is, I don't like the term, but the concept of universal basic income. The idea was Web 1 was the democratization of information, right? Making information available to everyone. Web 2 is the system was captured by big tech. Web 3 is the most precious commodity in the world was gold, then it was black gold, now it is your data. And what's going to happen is we are going to demonopolize Web 2, where we become economic beneficiaries or participants in Web 3, where we are being remunerated, we are choosing the products and services we use because we're getting a piece of the action. We're no longer just a customer, we're a stakeholder. And so whether it be the monetization of our financial data, our advertising data, our medical data, whatever it is, we the people are going to become economic participants, and we are going to choose our social networks. We are going to choose our financial services. We are going to choose our medical systems, whatever it might be, on the basis that we are getting a piece of the action as AI and robots take all the jobs. Humanity's survival depends on this shift. Otherwise, we're going to be relying entirely on government to basically bail the people out as the landscape of work is decimated, as AGI comes on. So it is imperative that we are building these Web3 services in a way that we are giving the people their power back, ownership of their data back, and the remuneration, the economic participation in the action. And without it, we're doomed.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for Brock Pierce and Scott Keto, please.